start again. It's a Redskin.
What's going on, everybody? It's the Bulls Show, aka Aidan, and welcome back to another video. Today, I want to provide an injury list for the Chicago Bulls, all the players that are currently out where it comes to health and safety protocols or injuries for the team. And I just want to discuss the potential return date for the Chicago Bulls and what we expect to see once they return. It's going to be a very interesting couple of games, knowing that we're going to be extremely short-handed, but hopefully we could see a lot of repeat performances like the one we saw against Denver, against other teams. And I think the Chicago Bulls, through all the injury concerns that we do have, it's definitely going to be a positive ride if we can walk away with some big victories. But before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Bulls Show, turn notifications on, and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about the Chicago Bulls team and the list update in terms of injuries, and just what you expect from these players once they return. First things first, I want to get a really important one out of the way. He's technically not part of the Chicago Bulls team, but he's someone that just he's someone that makes such an impact in terms of the way that we watch these games, especially when you're watching at home like myself. It's Bulls commentator and former Bulls player Stacy King. Stacy King entered health and safety protocols, I believe, just after the Brooklyn Nets game, so not too long ago. And unfortunately, it looks like we won't be seeing Stacy King for at least another week and a bit, which means that there are going to be a couple of games where the Chicago Bulls commentary, as good as it was against Denver, and I'm not going to say that it wasn't good, I thought it was pretty solid, it's just not the same without Stacy King there. He makes such a big impact in terms of the enjoyment factor of the game, and I really enjoy his commentary, and I think many Bulls fans would say the same. And I think although he's not part of the team, it's still a big loss to Bulls fans across the world that he's not going to be commentating for the majority of this week and next week as well. So it's a big blow for the Chicago Bulls, and I feel like that's one that cannot be forgotten in the whole grand scheme of things when it comes to the injury updates. Now, the next one I want to talk about is one that we've known for quite some time now. It happened in the very first game against the New York Knicks that we played. We did lose that game, and we lost Patrick Williams. Patrick Williams ended up having a wrist injury in that game. I believe he had surgery on it, and he is expected to miss the majority of this season. Now, there's no set return date, but it looks like if we do make the playoffs, which I'm very confident that we will, it looks like Patrick Williams could potentially return around the playoff picture. It's going to be interesting to see whether the Bulls go and maybe give Patrick Williams minutes in the playoffs, or maybe he just won't be ready for that season and we just give him that whole season off. It's going to be interesting to see which direction the Bulls go down. Maybe he's not going to be ready for the playoffs. Maybe he'll return but just isn't up to the scratch of playoff basketball or regular season basketball for that matter. So until we figure that out, I'm not really sure what to say about Patrick Williams. It's going to be a long way away before we get to see his return. I'm obviously very keen to see our second year player return, and it sucks that he's going to miss a lot of this season, but we're going to have to wait and see if he does return, if he gets minutes, and if he's up to scratch to the NBA game at the moment. The next player that I want to talk about is Kirby White. Kirby White entered health and safety protocols pretty much right after the Charlotte Hornets game. That game he dropped 8 points and 2 assists, I believe, on some poor shooting numbers. And pretty much since after that game, he has been entered into health and safety protocols. Now, that game against Charlotte happened just about a week ago. So that's approximately 7 days since, at least we were told, he entered health and safety protocols, which means we could potentially see his return this week if he is completely healthy and ready to play, which is going to be a big bonus for the Chicago Bulls, considering we do have a lot of guards that are out right now. But it's going to be interesting to see where he fits, because Io has had a tremendous week for the Chicago Bulls, and more specifically, a very strong game in his debut as a starter, that maybe many people might not see a spot for Kirby White on the team anymore. Of course, I see Kirby White as a valuable asset. I see Kirby White as a player that will get game time on this team, but it's going to be interesting to see where he fits into this team once he returns. I'm looking forward to it, and I think Kirby White is going to return very soon. I think most people will be very happy about that. Obviously, we'll wait and see what happens in terms of the rotation. We'll wait and see. The next player that I do want to talk about is Javonte Green, ladies and gentlemen. Our starting power forward has been out for the Chicago Bulls, and it's also because of health and safety protocols. Now, Javonte Green, I believe the last game that he played was against the New York Knicks. Now, that New York Knicks game for me, on my time, happened on Friday, and for you guys happened on Thursday, which means it's going to be a little bit longer for Javonte Green compared to Kirby White to return to the Chicago Bulls, which means we may not not see him this week. We may miss him at the start of next week as well. It's a 10-day protocol at the end of the day, so we will see Javonte Green soon, but I think obviously it's going to be a pretty late compared to when Kirby White returns. The recency of his health and safety protocols is the key factor here. And at the end of the day, he's a big miss for the Chicago Bulls. I know we had a strong game against the Denver Nuggets, but his energy, his tenacity, his athleticism, maybe even as a bench player or as a starter, whatever the case may be, his energy is sorely missed for the team, and I really, really can't wait to see him return as well and take that power forward position back as a starter, or maybe even come off the bench now. Who knows what the Chicago Bulls have in store for Javonte Green, but it's definitely something that I'm intrigued in, and I can't wait to see him return. I know there's a spot for him, starter or bench, on this team. The next player that we're going to talk about, ladies and gentlemen, is Alex Caruso. Alex Caruso suffered a hamstring strain. That's a tongue twister if I've ever heard of one. And he is expected to be re-evaluated in a week. Now, he ended up hurting his hamstring before the Brooklyn Nets game. He decided to give it a go against the Brooklyn Nets, played 8 minutes, and then ended up leaving the game and did not return. Obviously, that could have done more harm than good, as we now see that Alex Caruso will miss the remaining games of this week for the Chicago Bulls. He'll miss the Cleveland game most likely, and he will miss the Miami Heat game most likely. Obviously, if there's some miraculous healing process and he's back and ready to go by the time the next game comes around, or the game against Miami, that's great. But it did say he was expected to be re-evaluated within a week's time, so he most likely will miss the next upcoming games for the Chicago Bulls, but hopefully it's not serious. Again, re-evaluation means that it could potentially be longer than this week until we see Alex Caruso return, or it could be that he's ready to go right now. Or he's ready to go as soon as the re-evaluation process begins. He's ready to go. It's one of those situations where you just don't know. Hamstrings take different times for different players to heal, and hopefully it's not too strenuous. Hopefully it's not a large strain on his hamstring, and hopefully we can get him back as soon as possible. But that one is more unknown for the Chicago Bulls. It could be a week's time after he's re-evaluated. It could take 2 weeks. It could take a month. We just don't know the situation behind Alex Caruso's injury, but hopefully it's not a serious one, and it's one that I really hope we get to see back sooner than later. Alex Caruso is a defensive leader, a leader in general, and I don't care how many wins or losses we have in terms of this upcoming week. Without Alex Caruso, it's a massive loss for the team, and I think we're going to see that as soon as he returns. He's a key player for the Bulls. And the last player that I'm going to talk about, hopefully I have not missed anybody, but if I did, I apologize. But this is just from my memory. The last player that we're talking about is DeMar DeRozan, our starting power forward, arguably our best player this season, is entering health and safety protocols. Now, this is a bit of an interesting one, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to DeMar DeRozan, because he did end up taking a test, and the test was unknown in terms of the results, which could potentially mean that it was undecisive. I guess that does happen when it comes to testing. He's expected to get tested, I believe, tomorrow, which means that in the end, if he does get tested negative, I believe in terms of this situation, if he gets 2 negative tests within 24 hours, he's able to play against the Cleveland Cavaliers, which means we'll get him back relatively soon. But if he does get tested positive, we could potentially see a 10-day situation where we don't see DeMar DeRozan on the team, which completely sucks, and something I definitely hope we do not see. I really want to see DeMar DeRozan return. We have enough injuries as it is. We have enough players in health and safety protocols as it is. Losing our best player because of this could potentially be very hurtful. We didn't see it against Denver. We played very well against Denver, but it doesn't mean we're going to play well every single time without DeMar DeRozan. Having someone that can give you 20 points to 30 points a night, give you some playmaking, give you some rebounding, can play a little bit of defense, and just bring something that this team doesn't have, is something I really want to see. I don't want to see DeMar DeRozan out because of health and safety protocols. I know now we can learn how to win without him, and that's going to be a good test for the Bulls, but it's something I don't want to see. I really hope DeMar DeRozan returns soon, and hopefully this health and safety protocols is a relatively quick one for one of our best, if not our best player. And that's it in terms of injuries, ladies and gentlemen. It's a long list of injuries. Half of our roster, pretty much, it seems like, is out due to health and safety protocols and injuries, which you do not want to see. But nevertheless, we have to keep pushing forward. It's not going to be an easy week now for the Chicago Bulls. We've started off the week very, very well with a big victory over a good opposition. But now it's time to turn our heads to some tough competition out in the East, away from home. And let's see if we can get some wins over there with a short-handed roster. And if we do that, that, we're only solidifying ourselves as one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference, and I think many people see that as the case. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. Have a wonderful and safe day, Bulls Nation. I'll see you in another Chicago Bulls video. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay tuned for more. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.